if they marry, they lose that straight away. So even though they might have another fella or another girlfriend, but they're enjoying the maintenance of their previous husband or wife, if they marry, they lose that.
Yes.
So that's kind of anti the new family.
Well, it is important that maintenance can be reviewed depending on someone's financial circumstances, because inevitably your circumstances can change over the years. And there was a case there recently where a judge felt that it was manifestly unfair, or would be manifestly unfair and unjust, to ignore a change in the value of property, where he managed to go in and succeeded, in fact, in having the divorce decree modified. Because he was unable to pay his wife the periodic maintenance.
I know for a fact of a very good friend of mine who had a very bad breakup. Both himself and his ex-wife behaved both appallingly towards each other, where emotions completely got in the way of logic, and they went out to kind of destroy each other. But now, 5 years later, he's paying her mortgage and she has her man. Her new man who's moved in,
but it is
who isn't
open to him
contributing anything.
it is open to him to go into court and have his maintenance reviewed. I mean,
Okay, but here's another one. Like you talked about having a divorce decree modified because of changing circumstances. What about someone who's given a lump sum by the other person, and then the circumstances change? Like,
well, it works both ways,
The
Pat.
value of, can you go back in and say, give me back, I gave you 4 million, give me back
Technically
too.
speaking, yes, absolutely.
And the judge will say, and she says,
I'm not saying
or
the judge
he says,
would or wouldn't. It would depend on the circumstances of each case, obviously. But I mean, certainly if the husband,
but suppose she or he spent it unwisely, blew it on. In the meantime, they divorced last year or 3 years ago. Property things have changed. The other party is now stony broke, having tried to run a business. It's now run into the ground. The 4 million that was given is gone or spent unwisely.
Well, under Section 20 of the Family Law Act, the judge has to take into account the age, the contributions that the parties make to the marriage, their earning capacity, the children, all of those circumstances. So, I mean, it's impossible to sort of predict what a judge would do in any particular case.
But can he try to retrieve
He
some
could
of the
try,
cash?
absolutely could try.
And
there's no question about that. I mean, it works for a wife as much as it does for a husband. In fact, I've represented probably more husbands than wives.
So it's not just maintenance that can be reviewed, it's everything. You can go back in and say, that property portfolio that we split into, you got the good bits and I got the bad bits.
Have particular grounds, Pat. You can't go in willy-nilly and just decide, I don't like the decree that was ordered. You'd have to have very valid grounds to go in. But certainly I think, most circumstances would be reviewable where the financial circumstances have changed.
So we may get a flood of people coming back to the courts.
Well, we're seeing a myriad of cases at the moment in front of the courts. That's what I was talking about, the property guy. One wife went in and she was successful in having her husband made bankrupt in circumstances where he failed to comply with a court order to pay her a significant lump sum. So she managed to do that.
But he's a bankrupt, but if he's no money, he's no money to give her.
I know, it does sound...
In America, even we had over the last 18 months what we refer to as Madoff divorces. It was basically women who realised that their very wealthy husbands with their very wealthy portfolios were on the verge of losing quite a lot. And so they basically sort of got in these preemptive divorces to actually get as much money as they possibly could. And in a lot of cases, they actually still stayed together. But so it shows that it's the financial minefield that everybody's gone through in pretty much every circle.
Isn't it true also that wherever you file first is where the divorce is heard?
Yes.
So, there are some jurisdictions that might be more favourable to either the man or the woman or the property owner versus the non-property owner.
Yeah.
So if you get in first, if you think your marriage is going down the Swanee, you might file in a different jurisdiction.
Look, there are probably various tactics that lawyers can use, but I do think the Irish judiciary are very fair. I mean, I would be a big advocate of collaborative law and of mediation, in trying to stop or not prevent people going down the court route. But it is so adversarial, and collaborative law is certainly something that we would try and encourage people
but
to
I think the most fascinating
and actually
case.
Madonna and Guy Ritchie are the first high profile couple to use collaborative law, and that's been fantastic.
Didn't John Cleese offer that to Alice?
He did. He pretty much...
It was mentioned. I mean, then again, you can't believe everything you read in the papers.
What?
As I said.
How dare you?
Except, of course, about you and Jordan and Peter, Andre, Ian. I'll have to use my mediation skills here, I think.
No, I think really what it boils down to is... If you're a fairly honourable kind of person, you want to get, and people break up all the time.
They do,
and you can still say, right,
yeah.
but if you've borne my children, or you want to look after your kids, particularly, you want to look after. But I think what a lot of guys And some of them just go mad and end up joining Fathers for Justice and things like that in Britain because they've been treated so badly in the family courts. But I think what a lot of men feel is that the decks are completely loaded against them.
No. I mean, there's a 25% increase in unmarried fathers actually looking for guardianship in the district courts at the moment, which is great because the word has got out there that unmarried fathers have, once they're a guardian, have the same rights as, unmarried or mothers.
What about the family home? Nowadays, there may only be money for one home. Does it inevitably go to the woman if she gets custody of the children?
And again, that's a misconception or misperception, Pat. Generally speaking, the mother, although things are changing, the mother is the primary carer of the children and is at home. And therefore, a lot of the time, the mother would remain in the house with the children until the children, or perhaps the youngest child is 18 or 23 if in full-time education. So she may be awarded more of the equity of the house under those circumstances. But again, each case depends on the individual circumstances. So it's
Now, in the good times, it was possible maybe to take the family home if it was substantial and flog it and buy two houses. Yes. That's kind of no longer, there's no market out there for the substantial house.
And also buying each other out. I mean, that can be very difficult now, So rather, if one party wanted to stay in the house.
So are we now seeing situations, though, where you have two people maybe living in either end of the house? Very difficult for either to move on.
Very
can you
difficult.
bring your girlfriend or your boyfriend home to a house where your ex is living at the other end?
And that's why there's been such an increase in both collaborative and mediation, because mediation can be used to help people have a sort of a framework going forward where they're living in a house together, so that you might be able to help them.
And some of the texts coming in: when I got divorced, she took everything. I got only the blame. Another one: need a divorce, will have to do it myself because I have no money. Most women want out of bad marriages. They don't care about the money, says Anne. What a myth, hell hath no fury. Look at Ireland and the murders of women to see who hath the fury. That's from Anne. How long does it take to get divorced in Ireland? Less than a year if you have no cash or assets, but 7.5 years if you have cash and assets. I gave up all my pension and 60% of my net worth in total to get my divorce, says Barry in Donegal. Another one: acrimonious divorce damages the long-term health of both parties and damages the future emotional and career prospects of the children. Bring on collaborative law soon. That's from Anne-Marie.
Yes, I would
you
agree
can't
with that.
force people
No, you can't.
law.
But certainly, as a family law solicitor, we have a duty to outline the various options to a client coming in, and one of them would be collaborative law. I mean, it's only in England since 2005, and the first case in Ireland that was ruled in Wicklow was in 2007. And it's where a client has their own legal representative. There are four-way meetings. It's all very open and transparent. I mean, the court route really is something to be avoided if you can at all. I mean, sometimes it doesn't suit the individual person.
I think the most depressing statement that I've ever heard about this, and it shows like the death of any sense of romance or anything, is Nicholas Mostyn QC, where he said, if you want to protect your money from the powers of the court, just don't get married.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
What a horrible.
Well, they say the secret
to
a successful marriage is incompatibility. He's the income and she's the compatibility. That was, you'd like that one, Ian, I think.
and what about finally palimony? Is there such a thing? There is in California, where people have lived together and they can get part of each other's assets depending. We don't have that here, do we?
Not yet, but of course there's the new bill that's coming in, and so cohabitees may have certain rights when that goes through, Pat, but certainly not at the moment, no.
All right. And the lesson, Ian, that you've learned from all of this?
Well, I was discussing this with the wife the other night, and I said we should have got a prenup, and she went, yes, I know I should have, because I earn so much more than you fool. So basically I think, yes. No, if you are going to get married, if you're worth anything, probably do a prenup.
Yeah,
here's another one here. Pensions. Wife gets 50% on divorce, plus 50% on the death of her husband, thus better off. Divorce pays in that situation. Anyway, we'll leave it there. Josepha Madigan, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pat.
Thank you.
Thank you.